Welcome to People. I'm Micah Mater. With access to health care often an issue in communities of color, some experts say the recent FDA recommendations on childhood vaccines has put children in those communities at an even greater risk. Now, a leading group of pediatricians are speaking out. Here to talk about that and so much more, our friend Dr. Jeffrey Sterling. Thanks for coming in, as usual.
Thanks for having me, as usual.
We always have such great information from you. Now, these big flu vaccines, it's been an issue, I guess, since the beginning of the new administration.
Yes.
What are the new guidelines? Should we ignore them? Should we go ahead and get vaccinated? What are your feelings, especially for kids?
Well, in the abstract, this is something that the problem with the new guidelines is already manifesting. So the guidelines are really that the number of vaccines that have been given as part of the childhood immunization schedule is too much.
Oh.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
The idea here is that there are other countries that give less vaccines than we do, and they seem to be doing okay. So because RFK Jr., the head of the Health and Human Services, has been disinclined to give so much to kids, that he said, let's just see if we can cut down the vaccine schedule and see what happens, literally. So the vaccine schedule has been pared down to what the individuals that evaluate these things believe can still produce some level of safety. The evidence doesn't support that. It's just a swing at a different type of policy to reduce risk factors. And the manifestations of that is something that we're probably going to talk about in things that have been resulting from less vaccines being given.
Like the measles outbreak, which is a big deal.
Exactly.
I mean, we thought it had been eradicated years ago, but now it's, outbreaks are going crazy, and it's a deadly disease.
Well, the point of the matter is that, as you said, 2 years ago, there were only 59 cases of measles in the entire country. And this year, this season, it's been up over 413. Now, the good news for Illinois is that the outbreak has been declared done by the Illinois Department of Public Health. There have been no cases in 2016, so it's done. But the point to be made is that the reason for this outbreak is largely traceable to the fact that there's been a pretty dramatic reduction in people getting immunized against the measles. So if you extrapolate that trend into the future, you can actually see if people stop getting immunized, then those most at risk are going to be dying from the diseases that were thought to once be eradicated.
So your advice is to get the vaccines that we are supposed to get as far as the guidelines, our guidelines in Illinois.
We've stopped having that conversation because there are two different considerations here. We get vaccines to prevent diseases. We spend so much time these days talking about the side effects of diseases, and we seem to have forgotten about the disease themselves. COVID killed over 1 million people. Influenza kills over 35,000 people a year. In the current environment this year, there have been 18 million cases of the flu. There have been 230,000 hospitalizations from the flu just this flu season. There have been already 9,000 deaths across the country, including 100 in the state of Illinois. And we're always worried about the side effects. We should be more concerned about the disease. And the second part about that is that, yes, the disease is reduced by us getting immunized, but we seem to have forgotten about this thing we used to talk about called herd immunity. We're not just taking it for ourselves. We're trying to reduce the bolus of disease in the population so those individuals most at risk don't die. The elderly, those who are immunocompromised, young kids, they actually die if the disease is just everywhere because people chose not to get vaccinated. One more quick point. Getting back to Illinois, would you believe that this season, just over 20% of individuals have gotten immunized against the flu? Under 7% of people have gotten immunized against COVID. Illinois Department of Public Health says everybody should be getting vaccinated. In order to get that herd immunity thing we like to talk about 70 or 80% of the people need to be immunized. So we are trending in a dangerously wrong way, and measles was a great example to bring up in terms of these things are starting to creep up, and don't be surprised at some point in the future where you see pandemics of diseases that were both avoidable and preventable. This is foreseeable.
And you talk about the flu, and that's a big deal now, too. Everybody's getting a different strain of flu this season.
Yes.
It's really, really bad. Now, that flu vaccine that's going around, is that good for this particular flu strain?
The answer is actually no. There are two things to consider. First of all, this is the worst flu season since 2009 in Illinois. So this is real. The flu vaccine does not stop people from getting the flu. Let me just say that. If you were sitting here now and I got a vaccine and you coughed in my face,
I'm moving over.
It stops, it reduces the risk of you dying from the flu.
Okay.
So the point of the matter here is that it's a bad season because the vaccine itself is just a best guess by the scientists. There are many concoctions that go into a vaccine that try to predict in advance what strains of the flu are going to be around. And this year they missed. So the flu vaccine isn't as strong this year as it historically has been. Now that means two things. When you see that the people taking the flu is down by so much, and the fact that this is a more virulent season, then that doesn't bode well. Every year, believe it or not, and this has been going on for 100 years now, about 35,000 people in the United States die from the flu.
Wow.
9,000 people have already died this flu season, and this is being projected to be one of the worst flu seasons this century. So
wash your
hold
hands,
on.
stay home if you're sick.
Exactly.
And stay away from people, take the 6 feet rule, the whole thing like
There you
months
go.
before. Yeah,
You've been listening.
we remember from COVID, you know?
That's
Let's
right.
talk about this food pyramid. How has it changed over the years? It's a new one now, right?
You know, I really am trying to play scientist here and to say that different isn't better or worse.
Okay.
What this really represents is a different approach. I love the My Healthy Plate is what it used to be. You know, you would actually look at fruits and vegetables taking up half of your plate, and then grains and lean meats taking up the other half of your plate. Well, RFK Jr.'s administration has decided to do something different. And the general idea is kind of for people to understand what they're trying to accomplish. What they're trying to accomplish is say natural foods are good. And to whatever extent they're good, we're going to try to refine that and make recommendations off of it. So to that extent, things like proteins are back.
Yeah,
Fats-
that's a big deal. More protein, more protein, more protein.
more protein, more fat, and dairy. You know, instead of skim milk and 2% or 1% whole milk. And part of the reason for that particular recommendation is because it contains fats and it
proteins.
contains proteins.
Yeah.
So they're trying something different. There's a lot of controversy about whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing. For now, it's different. There's a sense of logic behind why they're pursuing it, but it does fly in the face of some things that we know are bad. And one particular example that I'll bring up is that recommending ingestion of high amounts of animal protein isn't the best possible thing, because we know that has strong ties to diseases, obesity, heart disease, etc. And then that leads to cardiovascular disease down the road. And that's literally the leading cause of death in this country, that and cancer, which is also traceable to ingestion of high amounts of animal
But
protein.
you can eat other proteins rather than animal proteins,
And
of
you
course.
should.
Beans and
Great
things
segue.
like that. Yeah.
That's exactly. So there are ways to get high amounts of protein without eating animal fats. So that has less ramifications for people that are watching this program, because I don't know if anyone, well, some people are, but not to the extent of the mass population, are going around with the bean counter really taking inventory. But it has ramifications for what the government pays for in terms of funding for school meals and what happens to people who are incarcerated.
Right.
What the government chooses to pay for are going to represent things that could be making folks less or more healthy is very much to be determined. And to say that instead of saying, here's the data, we're going to follow what the data says, is another big swing that's being taken by the current administration.
Tell me quickly about your trip to Zimbabwe.
We literally are finishing negotiations with the country. I actually am very pleased with Simcoe to be leading what will be the largest medical mission ever to go over to Zimbabwe. We'll be taking about 100 people, 50 physicians, dentists, nurses, and other support staff, and we'll go over there on a 10-day mission in September, and we'll try to do some good. And we're also working with them as they try to roll out a universal health care program. So these are part of the things that I've been doing for a while across the world, and glad to do it again.
What I want to make sure you take video, so when you come back, you can show us the video and we can talk about it, okay?
Absolutely.
And maybe you can bring one of the people who were with you, maybe one of the dentists or something, tell us what it was like.
Plenty of Chicagoans will be going with me, so
Sounds
we'll have
good.
that conversation.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
Always good to be with
Appreciate
you.
it. You can find more on the work Dr. Sterling is doing at jeffreysterlingmd.com and more about Zimbabwe.